Hi folks, Harry Frank from Graymachine here, and in this tutorial we're going to be talking about part 3 of a sort of Lightspeed effect from the Star Wars. I apologize, this has been a year since I did part 2, and then I said if there was interest I would do part 3, and there indeed was interest, but it's been a busy year for me. Lots of things happened this year, including a move and selling and buying houses and stuff like that. So I'm kind of getting settled, and I figured, well, time to do part 3 because I watched through part 2 and there's a lot covered there. And then toward the end, I start to accelerate like a train going downhill, and just kind of glossed over some of the final updates in this. So I think in the part 1 and part 2, we pretty clearly outlined doing both the tunnel as well as the particular the stars, and doing the jump to Lightspeed and all that kind of stuff. So definitely check out parts 1 and part 2. But there's something that happens here where these streaks kind of pop in. Where is it? Right about here. That kind of add to this tunnel, and I really kind of jumped over this, and I thought it was pretty basic, but you know, what is one person's basic is always relative. So we've gotten this far. We've got this tunnel, and the short story is we've basically mapped fractal noise to the inside of Trapcode MIR. MIR basically renders a two-dimensional plane, but it has some ability to sort of bend and twist that plane. So we've bent this flat plane into a tunnel, and then we simply have mapped some fractal noise. Not that one, but this one. We mapped some fractal noise, and I add some color and stuff to it. And we get a pretty good tunnel that looks like both the Force Awakens tunnel as well if you've watched Clone Wars. It also kind of shows this basic fractal noise kind of tunnel when they jump through hyperspace or whatever it is. So later on, after this tunnel appears, we get these sort of streaky things appearing. And there's probably a couple different ways to do this, but I will turn this off, and we will make another set of mirror streaks. In fact, I think, honestly, this has been a year since I've done this project, so I thought, well, this would be a good opportunity to not only demonstrate it like I'm Mr. Know-It-All, but go through it without it fresh in my mind. So I'm going to duplicate this mirror tunnel because basically I want the same geometry, I want the same position, I want the same length and bend of the tunnel and everything, but I want to apply a different texture map to the surface of the plane. So I'll call this streaks 2 because we've already got one, and I'll leave that there for reference. But this is mirrors. This is one we'll do. So we're going to apply a new texture map to this, and we will create a solid for our streaks. This will be the streaks texture, and I'm going to pre-comp this streaks texture comp. That's probably good enough. And then I'm going to jump inside there, and we're going to apply some more fractal noise. So let's go to generate, or not generate, noise, fractal noise. So we want a very stretched out, streaky kind of noise, and this is actually going to be very useful. If I lock this, go back to this comp here, look at the Lightspeed composite. Whoops, I did this wrong. So lock this, so I want to see the fractal noise, and then I also want to see the Lightspeed composite here, and I can't see anything because this layer is on top of everything. And then okay, stop it. Okay, so close that, lock that. So I've got my streaks comp, streaks texture comp here. That's locked, and this is my final composite over here. So I can bounce back and forth between these two, make changes here, and I'll see it there. Now, what I should do is go to my mirror streaks, go to the mirror settings, go to the texture, and apply that different streaks. So we want mirror streaks texture comp. That's layer number 1. There we go. And let's go back to our fractal noise settings, and we basically want to stretch this way out. So we go here to the transform, and if I have my Yeah, okay. I wasn't sure if I had my axes actually in the right order. So if I turn up the height, this will stretch it and stretch it and stretch it. So let's just set this to like 5,000 or something like that. And then if I go to the contrast, make that very contrasty and turn the brightness down, we're going to start to turn it into basically like streaks like that. That's actually pretty close. I think when I did this the first time, I manually went in and started to actually mask things to get a little more detailed control. So if I can go to the rectangular mask tool, I can, I can get a specific number of streak things like this. I guess I'll leave those on just to demonstrate it. If me randomly dialing up fractal noise settings just happens to work, that doesn't mean it's going to haphazardly work for you. So I'm going to demonstrate this with using the mask. So I'll set maybe 4 different sections. What's good is that this gives us detailed control over where we see fractal noise and where we don't. And if you dial it up and it doesn't look, like your random settings are not ideal, you can always go, into the evolution here, but you can also go to the evolution options and just play with different random seed values right here. And there, that one works. That one, whoops, no, undo. That one I liked. The other cool thing about using masks, actually now that this is starting to refresh my memory, is that we can animate these. So I do want these sort of coming on and off. And honestly, I'm going to have to reference my original here. So where my Fractal Noise mirror streaks. This is the original one I did like a year ago. Sorry, this is a much sloppier tutorial than I usually do. I've been doing tutorials for After Effects for over 10 years now. So I should know what I'm doing. So this is, apparently I called it alpha. That doesn't quite make sense. Oh, that's some sort of alpha channel. Mirror sweeps. Oh, that was just some sort of, oh yeah, that was it. That was what I did. So mirror sweeps and texture layer, Fractal Noise Comp 2. Very creative. See, this is what happens when you don't properly label your stuff. Okay, so it starts, looks like I animate the brightness, so it's all the way dark, and then these, kind of like traveling a little bit left to right to give a little sweepy sweep kind of thing, and then I animate these masks. So a couple things going on here. We're animating the brightness up and down so that we get those streaks. We're animating the movement, and we're also animating the mask. So there's actually quite a bit going on. So yes, definitely worth covering. I do not want 2 views here though. Set this back to 1 view. There we go. Okay, so first things first, let's animate that brightness. So we start, this is kind of where we want to end up. This seems like a good brightness value that we want to end up on. So set a keyframe there, and then back up and turn this brightness down, so this basically goes dark. So still see a little bit of streakery there. I don't know what I'm seeing. Why am I still seeing? Looks like it's got some sort of artifacts where the masks hit the edges. Interesting. So I just set the blending mode to none, so it's not trying to blend at all. Oh, you know what it was? So I have, actually here, there's another way to fix it. So if I set this back to normal, so again, you see, this is just one of the many reasons After Effects isn't a great compositor, because it does a lot of things without you telling it to do so. So I've got these little streaks in here because I am blending a fractal noise normally with its solid, and solid is white, and there's some anti-aliasing on the edges, so where it anti-aliases the masks, it kind of feathers into that white solid. So I just set that solid to a black. That's another way to fix it. So we have the brightness of this fractal noise, and it animates on, And then we perhaps want, what do we want to have happen? You know what, I turned this way down because I was trying to get rid of those streaks. So there we go. Let's turn this just to the point where the brightness or the noise is not visible. There. Previously I had this keyframe set to like -400, so it was taking a really long time from this 1 second mark to the 2 second mark to actually get to a brightness level where we could see what was going on. So this turns on, and then looks like we had some transformation going on so that it would just kind of offset the turbulence. Let me move forward again so we can see. And so if I animate this and offset it, that will give it a little bit of movement as well. So I'll set a keyframe for that. Hit U, and we'll just have this kind of freely move while things animate. Okay, so let's hop back to our Lightspeed composite. Oh my gosh, why does it keep doing 2 views? I just want 1 view. Lightspeed composite, yeah, it's trying to pull that up and show us all the things that we're asking for. So this is our Lightspeed composite. We're soloing this mirror streaks layer, so let's turn that solo button off, and then we're simply going to blend this mirror streaks that we've just been working with and set this to maybe screen or something like that. So where does that fade on? There, right there. So let's turn that back on. There, we're starting to see those things blend in. Maybe an add blend mode rather than the screen. Let me look at. I'm just going to cheat again. Did I add any sort of blur? Oh yeah, I added a little bit of curves, a little bit of fast blur. You notice, I mean, it's got some really sharp edges on there. So I'm going to blur it just a little bit. So I'm going to actually use a Gaussian blur. This is long enough to go before they added the GPU nicely kind of rebuffed Gaussian blur. So Gaussian blur is now my go-to blur, even though fast blur used to be my go-to blur. So I can just add a little bit of Gaussian blurring to this layer so that it just kind of fades in a little bit better. And maybe, if this works for us, add a little bit of color correction, pull down the curves a little bit just to have a little bit more control over it in this comp. Now again, so we're applying this 2-dimensional texture to this, basically this 3-dimensional tunnel. So we're seeing this all the way to the end of the tunnel. And keep in mind, if you want it to kind of fade out a little bit towards the end, we can go in to our streaks. Here, we've got 4 different masks, so I can select all these. Just select 1, 2, 3, 4, holding down the Shift key, and double-click on any of the vertices. And I'm just going to drag these down, and that's the wrong direction, so I'm going to drag them up. And if I keep pulling these forward, you should start to see them at the end of the tunnel there. Now if I hit F and then unlock X and Y here and just kind of feather it vertically, it'll fade off to the end of that tunnel. So if I scrub through this a little bit, we see that we've got our standard tunnel, and then we have these kind of streak things fade on. And as far as I know, those go away from what I remember. I think we just bring the brightness back down. I might animate the masks a little bit. I don't really remember. But hopefully that should be pretty clear. Like, you know, make this effect the way that you want it to be. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like when you're a kid and you used to, I don't know if you do, when I used to like color in coloring books, I would like look at the front cover to make sure I was using the right colors, you know, like coloring my robots the appropriate red or whatever. But you know what? And as the adults used to tell me, it doesn't have to look like the front cover. It doesn't have to look like it looks in the movie, but it's just a good exercise to have, you know, make it look close and then make it a little bit your own. Again, like I said, we're not working for Industrial Light and Magic here. They're not using After Effects to make these effects, but it's just a fun way to do it. So I'm going to add a little bit of evolution to this. We could keyframe it, but I find it a lot easier just to add a basic expression in here that follows the progress of time. That way it just constantly evolves, and then we'll add a little bit of multiplier, like time times 90. So as I play through this, actually let's go to this one, hit play. In fact, I think I would like these to animate from the distance toward the camera. So that would mean that we need these masks to animate to that position that they're in right now. And then, again, just double click on one of those vertices and move all those masks back. So these are going to move forward like so. So in my final comp here, click that one so it always previews that one. So if I hit play, we've got our tunnel flying, and then we should see some streaks kind of pop on like so. There we go, looking pretty good. It's like we know what we're doing. Okay, and then the most ridiculous part, you know, I know Andrew Kramer and Video Copilot came out with a really nice set of Star Wars things, Star Wars objects and stuff like that. And I honestly just haven't gotten around to getting it. And I'm like, well, I don't have the Star Wars thing, so what should I add? And for whatever reason, I ended up, I have like the fruit or the food pack or whatever. So I put a banana in there because I don't know why. I thought it was funny, I guess. So we're going to add element 3D. God, where is it? Too many plugins. Video Copilot element, kindly given to me by the great Andrew Kramer, so I can do tutorials like this and evangelize the great Element 3D. Very useful plugin. I use it a lot. Element 3D, and then let's see, where's our food? Fresh food. Cut apple. I've got a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old, so I've done a lot of cut apples in my day. I've got an avocado, banana, sliced banana, a half a banana, beans, bread. Let's do banana. There it is, Mr. Banana. We're going to hit OK, bring our banana into our comp. Lovely. Now, we need to animate this, and I think the best way to do this is to go into that group, under the group utilities, create a group null. Let's see, create. That way we can just grab this null and animate the null rather than fiddle with parameters in the, I almost called it the ECW, the effect control window, as we call it in the biz, the ECW. Let's flip you around, Mr. Banana, and we're going to fly you by the camera and then do a little bit of compositing. This isn't a compositing lesson, nor am I an expert in compositing. I just want to kind of finish this up. Let's see. Let's twist you around, and then we're just basically going to have it fly right by the camera. So let's set a keyframe. I'm not sure about the timing, so I'm just going to set a couple keyframes randomly at this point. So let's push you off into the distance, way out there. In fact, let's drag this back. We can probably kind of have it appear. I'll just put the keyframe right at the very beginning of the layer, and we'll just make sure that however it appears, that we kind of address how it suddenly might pop onto existence. I might just kind of tuck it over into the side of the tunnel for now. All right, and then if I zero this, this should come back pretty close to us. Yep, and then we'll push this forward. Zoo. That's actually pretty quick, although this is, you know, Lightspeed, so I guess it should go pretty quickly. You should go quicker than that. It's a very quick effect that was taken us a year to make. Zoom, there goes the banana. Okay, so definitely need things like motion blur. So let's turn on motion blur for both the comp as well as our element 3D layer. That'll help a little bit. There we go. Looks like we need to up the samples. That should be in either render settings. Is it multi-sampling? Or that's 3D geometry. Render settings, motion blur, and then motion blur samples 6. That's not quite that many, so that's actually following the comp settings. I'll just set this to like 32. There we go, a lot better. And I don't know if we have anything to set this underneath. I have an adjustment layer. What's on there? Some glow and some curves. So if I put this element layer underneath that, should do a little bit. That's a bit much though, isn't it? Let's move this back up. Make us, you know what? Actually, I'm not going to use an adjustment layer. We'll copy and paste some glow and curves onto the banana. I think that's the first time I've ever said that word or that phrase. And a little less drastic of a color correction thing on here. Just a little bit of contrast, but we don't need a huge amount. Nor do we need that much glow. So I'll dial this threshold up quite a bit. Actually, this just needs to be a little brighter. And it would be nice if we could inject some color from the environment. We'll start with just some basic curves. So let's go in here and just pull out some of the red. There we go. Too much. And a little bit of blue. Add a little bit of blue to the banana. Again, first time I've ever said that. Now, we could manually start doing some light wrap and all that kind of stuff. If you do like compositing in After Effects, I would suggest looking into either KeyCorrect or Composite Wizard, which are basically the same set of plugins sold by the same company, which is Red Giant, which is where I work. But in both of those, as far as I know, KeyCorrect or Composite Wizard also has a light wrap. You can essentially say, okay, what is my background? My background is a bunch of blue stuff. It's going to be the Fractal Noise background. So background layer, we'll pull the Fractal Noise surface 1. And, oh, I've got some glow. So we need to make sure to put the light wrap before the glow. There we go. So we're pulling in way too much light wrap. Trick with the light wrap is to dial it exactly down where you think it should be, and then dial it down another 50%. So, oh, that's the background blur. So that's how much it's blurring, how wide the light wrap is, and then blend with original. So if I turn this up, it should go away. So we can just dial in just a tiny bit of light wrap just to suggest that there's some ambient light bouncing off the banana. All right, so there. Oh, I guess, you know, we should not leave any stone unturned. So this is one of those things you got to think about, like how does the object appear? Does it just fade in, or what's going on? You know what? I'm gonna fade it in. It's gonna be so quick you're not even gonna notice. So T to show my opacity and just fade that on. We could do a little flash of light or something like that, but I don't think we're ever going to notice. Okay, so Lightspeed final. There's the final. Use this one comp. Apparently I used Null Light Factory. Interesting. Well, that is a John Null thing, and John Null probably supervised this effect shot, so it's fitting. So that is basically the last couple steps that I didn't really go through, which is creating the streaks that are applied to the inside of the tunnel that look like this. So just stretch it out, Fractal Noise layer, and then we added some masking to control it, added a little bit of evolution and transformation of the Fractal Noise, so it kind of moved and evolved over time, and then the individual masks gave us some pretty detailed control of where the Fractal Noise was showing up, which I think is pretty useful. And then we put a banana in there, which is always fun. So hopefully that covers the entirety of this effect, which was quite a bit of stuff. It took us basically a year to cover, where we started in Trapcode Particular, made our star field, and then used the ins and outs of Particular, specifically the aux system, to draw sort of those light streaks that happen. I'm waiting for it to render. There we go. And then we kind of shifted into a Trapcode MIR tunnel. So we took a 2D plane, wrapped it around, and basically just made a tunnel, applied some fractal noise to the inside, and did lots of glow and fractal noise trickery to make some really nice looking textures on the inside. And then we added these individual streaks with a second pass of Trapcode MIR, just kind of layering it right on top. And then we added a banana, just because I like to say that. I don't know what happened to my banana in this. This looks a little different when I opened it up a year later. I don't know what changed. Element 3D changed or something changed. There's a setting that seems to have changed with my original comp. So this is the original one that I did in the tutorial a year ago, and this is the newest one. So anyway, that's the banana effect. My name's Harry Frank from Graymachine. Sorry it took so long to get this tutorial posted, but hopefully that's helpful, and we'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye.